Okay, so just give you some idea of numbers at the moment. We have roughly 3,500 installer companies already certified with us. We have about 3,800, 3,900 products actually certified as well. Now a product may be an individual heat pump, wind turbine, solar panel. You know, there's a lot of different areas to that. But you can see the breakdown and mix of those products and installers on the slide, hopefully. You should be able to read those. Those are growing roughly in terms of the installers, the installer rate and the installs by about 500 to 1,000 a week at the moment, it seems like, if not more. So we're growing very rapidly, and there's a lot of work going on in ensuring that the companies who deliver the installs are installing correctly. Okay, so the company MCS standards. I just wanted to pick out a couple of issues and a couple of standards that we're working on. The way the standards work is we have an MCS 001, which is about the quality system that the company is going to deliver. Now, as you'll see from the bottom of this slide, depending on the size of company you are, will depend on what kind of a system you're going to require. And whether it's large or small will depend on the size of the organisation, because obviously a bigger company will need to provide more evidence that they're able to comply with the scheme than someone who's got a van and drives around and does their own installs. So it's about scalability of the scheme, but everyone needs to have a quality system. Now, MCS 001 is going through a revision at the moment, and there's two reasons, well, there's a few reasons for that. One is that we wanted to make it simpler to understand. It'd been written originally by people who understand certification and the auditing process, so it wasn't necessarily easy for everyone else to understand the documents. So we've tried to streamline it in terms of the language and get a better understanding of what is actually required for the installer. To go with that, we've also linked in where companies are, or we are bringing it in, where companies are going to work with agents or with sales companies. So before, if you're a company and you're doing all the sales in your own right, you have to be able to follow all of the process, and you have to have an OFT, Office of Fair Trade, scheme approval, so through the likes of Real. Now what we've found is that there's a lot of companies who are using agents, or there's sales companies going out selling, but they weren't part of the Real scheme. What we've done is, if you're not doing the whole process yourself, then the agent and the sales company will be required to be an OFT scheme approved organisation. So that's a big change in terms of the way we're going forward, but it will ensure then that those who are actually selling are selling in an appropriate way, because they have OFT has the teeth and the Real has the teeth to actually stop them selling in those ways. So that's quite a big part of the change for MCS 001 that we're going to bring in, but it's an important element to give confidence that for the consumer that they're going to get the right quality of install. They're not going to be doorstop sold and harassed into taking a contract too early. So the other thing we want to do is, as I said, it is about scalability of the scheme. So the other thing we want to do is to give more guidance and support and help to especially smaller companies to support their understanding of what is required of them. Now, there's lots of organisations who are coming along and helping you out with that. There's companies who are, specifically going to help with the training side of it. Other manufacturers also help support that scheme. We believe that it's useful from our perspective to give you the insight into what we would expect the scheme to be delivering. So There's going to be some guidance coming out shortly, as I said, particularly for the smaller companies to have a better understanding of what we perceive as being the quality system. Going on to a couple of technical standards now that have been changed. Our MIS are our installation standards, but we've started working on those. We've just had a major change in the heat pump standard, which was the development of it was with DEC, the Department for Energy and Climate Change. They did a lot of work with us, and there's now some guides and other information that goes with the standards to actually help improve the quality of the install. And there's going to be a workshop run around the country to help installers get better experience on that. We're working on the photovoltaic standards at the moment, and we've taken the guide that the DTI, as a long time ago now, developed. So the government provided a guidance document. We've taken that document and we've upgraded it for the current times. What we're also doing with the PV standard is we're moving away from using the SAP assessment as the way of actually doing the performance data assessment, and we're utilising a bit more information about where you are in the country, angle of slope of the PV, so we get a better data performance. That's some of the things that are happening in there. Now, there's been two technologies that haven't been able to get permitted development rights recently. That's where you don't have to get or go to your planning authority to actually have approval before you go and install the technology. And that was air source heat pumps and small wind turbines. And what we've been doing with that, we've worked with the government from the Department of Communities and Local Government and said, if we provide a standard for you, can we then have permitted development right for those who are installing? We've developed those standards now, or the standard. It comes with the two parts of the heat pump standard and the wind standard supported, and that's going to be published shortly. And so as long as the installer company can work to these standards, then the scheme should go ahead without having to go through planning. So hopefully that's going to be a great bonus to the industry. We've also got a roofing standard coming up for PV and for solar thermal, and that's about ensuring that the fitting of them is right, the weatherproofing is appropriate, weather tightness of the scheme. It's not going to get blown off over the next years. So we've worked very hard on a standard on that, how you test the actual products to ensure that they're going to be appropriate as well. And that will be coming out shortly as well. And then finally what we're going to do is we're going to put in competence criteria into the MIS standards. And what we mean by that is this is a company scheme, and the company requires to have a core set of skills and competency to be able to deliver the technologies in. Now, unlike a competent person scheme, as I said, this is a company scheme. So we'll set the minimum competency criteria we believe is required for that technology. Now, the competent person schemes and the other training routes through will all be part of the evidence that you can provide as installers to say we are competent to deliver this installation. And bearing in mind, like, the whole point about MCS is you don't have to get every single install signed off by someone. You know, this is about the company having competence and giving the confidence to the marketplace that you can install every time the appropriate installation. So we're putting in the competency criteria. We're working very carefully and very closely with our colleagues in the skills academies and all of the industry to ensure that everything bolts together, works with the European framework that's coming up for renewable energy directive as well. But as I said, ours is a company scheme, not an individual scheme. So we're developing our scheme to give the broader side of it, what you need as a company to install. So what's coming up? Well, here's a few ideas of my vision and MCS's vision of moving forward. We're looking to become a legal entity. At the moment, we're a steering group with a license from the government to provide the scheme. And the accreditation, as I said, is through UCAS. But actually, by becoming a legal entity, that gives us an ability to actually do a number of other things as well as a company. We'll remain not-for-profit, as we always have been, and we will appoint a board of directors, and that board of directors will be still from the wider stakeholder group. So there'll be representation from the whole of the stakeholder groups. We're looking to significantly increase our marketing of MCS to the consumer. It doesn't mean we're going to stop doing shows like this and supporting the installer groups, but we want to get the message out to the consumer that if you come to an MCS company, that's good for you, and that's good that you'll get good product, you'll get good installs, you'll also be able to get the feed-in tariff and renewable heat incentive. And moving forward, there's obviously potentially going to be Green Deal type issues around that as well. So we want to go out and get the message out. That hopefully should help the installers themselves actually come along and be able to pick up the work as well. We want to do more in terms of guidance and support for the industry as well. We talked just now about the MCS 001, having a guide to explain it better. We'll try and develop that out more into a broader sense to give a better understanding of what we're doing. We're also looking to put in place some verification and auditing process, so we could go along and spot check what's going on. Just to give an added robustness, I suppose it keeps everyone on their toes as well, to ensure that the scheme is delivering what it's meant to deliver at all times. And we're looking at that at the moment. On top of that, we're looking at better coordination of the complaints procedures, so it's easier to understand if people do have problems, where to come. And finally, we're looking at the scale of the size of the technologies that are going in. At the moment, it's 45 kilowatts for heat, 50 kilowatts for electricity. But actually, those were set because of the Energy Directive in 2008. There's no reason why we can't set standards and do for larger scale installations. But at the moment, that will be on a voluntary basis in terms of you won't be required to have that to get your feed-in tariff or RHI, as we know. But going forward, who knows, that might be a good way of moving things forward. So that's our aspirations, our vision of where we're going forward. I'm going to stop pretty much there now and open it up to the floor. I'd rather have a dialogue with you and get you to ask questions, and we'll try and answer as many of them as possible. So we're working very hard. There's a lot still to do. We appreciate that. We want to work with all of the industry. I'm here along with GemServe. All you have to do is contact us. But first of all, let's try some questions and answers. Thank you. Who's got the first question? Could you say your name and where you're from?
Yeah, my name is David Parsons. I'm from Gastech, who train a lot of MCS installers. You mentioned the ground source heat pump roadshows. Could you tell me where they're listed, please?
I won't be able to do that, but if you go on to the website, only because I don't know, but I know that they're across the whole country. There's about 8 in total. Leeds, I think, is one. Gateshead, Newcastle area, another over in the Midlands, down in the south. But I believe that there is actually on the website, on the MCS website, where they're being held.
The MCS website?
I believe so, and if not, contact GemServe and they'll be able to tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name's Mike Pitt from National Energy Services. The changes to solar photovoltaic, would you be able to say roughly when you'd be thinking of bringing those in, please?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Can you say that again?
The changes to the solar photovoltaics, roughly when would those be coming in? Would that be next year or?
Well, there'll be a period of, we've got to get it approved by the Standards Management Group, which is going out at the moment. Once that's been approved, then it will need time to feed through certification bodies. Like, the document will go live, but we'll need time to go through the certification bodies and then into the installer companies, so they have a time to transition between the old standard and the new standard. I can't give you an exact date on that, but hopefully in the next few months.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
Louise Morris from the Energy Saving Trust. I'm just wondering if you have any insight into the additional requirements on top of MCS that might be required under Green Deal for installers?
No.
No.
The PAS 2030 is out at the moment, and it should align from the microgeneration side of it to MCS anyway. We're not trying, as far as I understand, we're not trying to invent a new wheel here, so they're meant to be working very much hand in hand. So hopefully we'll have a clearer idea. But the draft is out for review at the moment. We've only got a week, so go and dig in and get it out and have a look at it. But it does need comments making to it. Anyone else? This gentleman back over here, please.
Hello, my name's Les Bald, I'm an installer. Where's your money come from, and how much do you think that adds to an average installation, an average job? Okay.
The way we've structured MCS is that there is a product certification fee, which this is about the MCS part now, not about the certification bodies. So I'll park the certification bodies bit for a minute. MCS requires a certification fee per technology group for each of the technologies a company wants to provide. Okay, so that works out about £475 for the first technology. In terms of the installer side of it, there's an annual £110 a year for the installer company, and then it's £15 per install that then comes back into the scheme, and that money is used to obviously run the scheme, but also to take it to the next level, to work on development of the standards, to promote MCS, to work on the complaints side of it. You know, there's a whole raft of things there that actually are there. It doesn't have a big infrastructure in terms of employees. We pay our administrators, obviously, and the licensee for doing the work that they do. But apart from that, as I said, we're a not-for-profit organisation. If we have more money, we'll use it for the benefit of the industry in terms of auditing, verification, promotion, all of those kinds of things.
What's the maximum salary for somebody on your scheme?
Sorry?
What's the maximum salary for somebody working for your organisation? What's the top man earn?
We don't have it like that at the moment. Like, I'm part-time employed by them. I'm paid to do 2 days a week. The administrators are also paid on an hourly base in terms of what they do daily base, and it's all strictly monitored.
So you wouldn't think it's going to become a top-heavy firm, a top-heavy organisation, supping the money out the grants?
The board of directors, in the way it's set up, should stop that happening. The whole point about this is it's about delivering a competent certification scheme and supporting industry. It's not about having a global empire to run the scheme. So, like, you'll have a board of directors. It will have, you know, two of the directors are likely to be from the installer industry, 2 from the manufacturers. There'll be trade association representation, consumer representation. You know, government will sit as the there somewhere, keeping an eye on us as well. So no, it shouldn't be that.
You get these organisations where they say they support the trade, and yet the people in the organisation are earning far in excess than anybody in the trade.
I can appreciate that. We have to pay some fees, otherwise we'll never get any work done. We will be as transparent as we can be and as appropriate as we can be in terms of what the income streams are, how it's being spent, and we will do an annual report to the industry, to the members. The members of the scheme are going to be you, the installers, and the product companies. So we have to justify that the scheme is value for money for everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? I think we're going to have to take this one probably as the last question, unless there's any desperate ones.
Mark Smith, I'm an installer with EcoSparky. If you search on the website for solar panels, you'll come up with lead generation companies that are offering 75% off. Now, they haven't been accredited by anybody, and they offer these huge discounts that aren't really real, but all the consumers go to look at them rather than the actual installers.
We're doing both. The products are certified. The certification process goes looking at the company, their factory production control methods, and that's wherever it is in the world, and also looking at the tests that they've done and ensuring that the performance is appropriate. The price of the panels is a separate issue. If you said to me it was 1 penny for a panel or £10,000, I'm not so interested in that part of it. That's a commercial decision. What it is about the performance of those panels matches what they say it's going to match and meets the standards that we've got established. So there are standards for the products, standards for the installers.
Yeah, I don't think you quite got my point. For customers who are going out looking for it, they search on the website for solar panels. They might find a whole list of installer companies who all apply to your standard and can only give like a £200 discount because you don't want it sold like double glazing. But the companies that come out the top aren't regulated by anybody, and they just sell leads, and they pretend to offer 75% discounts, which aren't true.
What I said earlier on was that we're closing that loophole with the new MCS 001 standard by ensuring that if a company isn't selling the product themselves and installing it, then the agents or the sales company will have to fall under a consumer code of conduct. Right? So in our case at the moment, the only one is Real, because that's the only one that's gone through the OFT scheme. And they will have to fall under the same rules as you would as an installer company. So that's coming in, and it's coming in very shortly. We appreciate that there's been a lot of issues with that, and that's why we're bringing in these changes to try and ensure that they're doing it appropriate as well.
Okay, that's great news, thanks.
How much time have we got left? Can we keep going for a minute? The gentleman over the far side.
Hello. Just picking up on what you just said, how would that affect the price comparison sites that send out quotations then? Sorry,
you get the price comparison.
The price comparison websites that send out detailed information on what and discounts on what is available from a range of installers and suppliers. How will it affect their business?
I'm not sure it should affect their business, really.
Do they need to be regulated? Will they come under the new regulations that you just
if they're
talked
an
about?
agent or if they're a sales organisation, they will have to be Real. Real isn't that expensive, depending on the size of your organisation, obviously, but it's not that expensive to be part of Real. You just have to make sure that you are following the rules. Separate bank accounts if you're a sales organisation, so the deposits are kept secure. So if anything did go wrong, the consumer can be protected and their money can be protected. So there shouldn't be too much impact on that. They just need to ensure that they get themselves registered and signed through.
And how will that be publicised? We
will go through, as soon as we've got the MCS 001 sorted out and we go through this we will go through an exercise of publicising it, not only through the industry, all the installers will have it sent to them through the certification bodies, but we'll go out to a broader announcement as well.
Thank you.
I think we're probably going to have to call it quits there on time, but thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.